shit something. Got a hold of me tightly. Flow like a hot daily and nightly. Will it ever stop, yo? I don't know. Turn off the lights, yo. And I'll go to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage and watch a light like a candle.
Manchester United Arsenal game. I say winning goal. Shout out to Jesus for adding further salt into the Manchester United wounds. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1. Box office stuff, 3 points, back to winning ways. Great way to go into the international break. Top 6 clash. It's lovely. And Arsenal saved Twitter. We know Man United fans. I've got a lot of friends and family that are United fans. They are deleting their social media drafts. They're deleting their WhatsApp messages. We have saved the world. As you know, Man United fans are unbearable. Apart from when they, when they lose, they're hella quiet. I'm sure some of you are probably sending out search parties for Manchester United fans. Banter aside, it's lovely to win. It's lovely to bounce back in winning ways. Be nice for a clean sheet and a quote-unquote cleaner performance, but there was lovely mentality to again come from behind. Obviously, it's lovely to see Jesus score. Collectively, I think we did well. Individually, I think there was a number of players who did well. Jesus, Nketiah, Odegaard, Rice. Several players really and truly that I've spoken about in previous videos, and the lovely scenes at the Emirates. And this is why we love football. Of course, it's lovely to win in the manner we did, especially because the goal got disallowed for Man United. It's gutting for them to lose in the way they did, but I'm sure some of you grew up with Man United under Ferguson, putting them results in and them performances and winning. It's firmly a party for us Arsenal fans for now. Obviously, as I said, our star man Declan Rice, and I think he rose to the occasion yesterday. I think he deserved his goal. Whether it would get chalked for an own goal, I don't know. But I think remove his goal away from his performance. The man was top draw. I think he dominated the game. I think he carried the ball well. I think he done his defensive actions. I think he stood up to be counted. And you can see why in these clips while I'm talking, why he drew praise from Mikel Arteta, from Ramsdale, and probably the wider world of football. Again, he'll be the poster boy, but it's a collective performance. The only thing I think we could have improved on is I don't think we should have conceded the 2 goals we did. We was fortunate one was chalked off. I don't think we should have conceded the goal we did. Yes, Havertz has lost the ball. I think Benjamin White, Saliba could have done better. I actually think Ramsdale overcommits in his positioning, but I think a lot of people could have done better. When you look at Rice's ball progression or Arsenal's ball progression in general, look how high the man scored, and this is what we need in the middle of the park. Football's decided in both boxes, but it's how you dominate the midfield in the present day which makes the difference, man. And Declan Rice, larger than life. These are the games as to why he signed for Arsenal. It's lovely to see the fans chanting his name throughout the game and also the scenes after, and actually how he was behaving with Roy Keane. You can see Roy Keane was seething. And as you see, his game by numbers, man, won 100% of his duels, had 85 passes, 13 final third entries, 1 possession 5 times, 5 duels contested, 4 duels won, 2 interceptions, 2 shots, 1 tackle and 1 goal. And you look at his progressive stats for carrying, and also in the build-up for Havertz's penalty, Declan Rice did really well. I actually think Nketiah had a very good game. Obviously, we didn't get the penalty, and Eddie Nketiah didn't get an assist, but I think you have to praise Gabriel Zinchenko, obviously the goal scorer, Martin Odegaard, Martinelli for the assist, and Nketiah. The man worked his socks off, and I think the manager can be held in high regards with how his system works, really and truly. It weren't plain sailing. As you know, Declan Rice's goal, has hit some records and things, and it was amazing. This is what we looked at. You look at his passing, the man's all over the place. And I think even though it's been 4 games into his Arsenal career where the Premier League's concerned, the fact that no one's waffling about his price tag at this moment in time tells you everything. You do the job, you play well, nobody cares, man. As I said, you see the ball progression, you see the ball passing, you see the ball carries, you see the interceptions. The man's an all-action midfielder, and considering we didn't have Partey, don't get twisted, the way Man United are at this moment, we should be getting a performance without Partey, but Declan Rice stood up to be counted. When you look at the final third entries, we dominated that. Even when United had large spells of possession, really and truly, it was in their home half, and only in the second half, or when they scored technically, did they really threaten our goal. I did think it was an interesting matchup, really, and I actually think there's early elements for Man United fans to be happy with how they're playing out from the back. There just needs to be more life in it. It's a bit slow. It's a bit predictable. Arsenal forced them long quite a lot. The players that were getting on the ball, the midfielders were dropping very deep. The midfielders were dropping very deep. The defenders were on the ball, and they couldn't really consistently play it short. Ericsson, had a hand to play in the assist, obviously against the run of play. But United were forced to go long into Rashford and things. It can't be Arsenal United without that man Marcus Rashford bagging. But like last season, unfortunately, his goal counts for nothing apart from end of season stats. And again, in January of 2023, Eddie Nketiah scored in the 90th minute. In September of 2023, another former Cobham graduate in Declan Rice scored in the 90th minute as well, although there was 8 minutes of added on time. I would like the game to be less dramatic. I would like to stop going behind. I would like clean sheets, but against top six sides, it is what it is. Don't get it twisted. Ten Hag's record against the top six away from home is quite atrocious. I think he hasn't won in 10 games. It's either away from home or in general. That couldn't have been it. I think even though Saka and Martinelli didn't have the best of games, I think the statistics you see on screen shows that they can still affect the game. Saka walked away with an assist, but I think Martinelli was a bit more busier. Technically, Martinelli, I'm pretty sure, got an assist, but I think he was a lot more busier. And you have to give credit to Mikel Arteta with the subs, really. Nelson won the ball for Jesus' goal where Fabio set him up. So that's 2. I think Tomiyasu had a good game. I think all the quote-unquote impactors, when they came on at the right time, made a difference, really. And I did enjoy the battle between Wan-Bissaka and Martinelli. I think both them players can leave with a sense of pride. I know for Wan-Bissaka, boyhood Man United fan, that won't mean much. Shout out, you lot, because it's another London derby. Arsenal have come out successful. And it just shows how good Saka is, despite the fact that in the first half, he created more chances than any other player, and he completed 100% of his final third passes and won duels and tackles to a high standard. So if you're not really having that match winner sort of game, that dominant performance, how you affect the game is how, is a mark of how good you are. And I think Martinelli and Saka are wide men also showed that, people. And obviously, because of Declan Rice, Saka got an assist. Considering we had about 12, 13 corners, it was a bit of poetic justice that we actually scored from a corner. I did like the set piece routine we did for Martinelli on the edge of the area that came to nothing as well. So nice to see the set piece coaches, them are doing their jobs, people. It weren't always plain sailing, but fundamentally, we've got this job done. Apparently, Declan Rice strike, he's the first player to score his first Premier League goal for Arsenal in the 90th minute, people, in terms of a 90th minute winner. So more history for him. What can I say? I'm proud of the boys, really and truly, because it shows that there is a new mentality. We're digging deep and we're really not giving up until the final whistle. Of course, we need to stop making it entertaining for the neutrals. But yeah, man, I'll take the 3 points first, dissect the performance after. Jesus scored his first Premier League goal against Manchester United, people. 57 games without defeat when he scored. So, Gabriel Jesus is a bit like the Undertaker, and it was nice to see him come on and score. I think Eddie Nketiah won't get the plaudits because obviously he never scored, but I think it's another game his manager can look back with a sense of pride. I think Eddie worked his socks off, and a bit like Declan Rice, I would have loved to have seen him get a clear-cut opportunity and score, because I think it would have been a nice result. Really, I would have loved the clean sheet today. Well, on Sunday, I would have loved the clean sheet. It's lovely to see Martin Odegaard's doing his thing. I would have loved the clean sheet. Would have loved to defend on the transitions a bit more. Would have loved for the game to be a bit less dramatic for Arsenal fans and United fans, and a bit less of a spectacle for away fans. Neutral fans. But we knew a game like this, Man United Arsenal provides a lot of entertainment, definitely in the last recent years. And we knew what sort of time it was. Again, it was a game of fine margins where things went for us, against us. I know Ten Hag sitting there and crying, but on another day, Lindelof gets sent off. I've definitely seen Marcus Rashford given a penalty for what Havertz VAR overturned. There was many margins. I don't know why he's talking about a penalty on Højlund and things like that. A man said Johnny Evans was fouled in the build-up to Declan Rice's goal. Sour grapes. Only 5 players have scored more non-penalty goals than Martin Odegaard in the Premier League since the start of last season. Those are Callum Wilson, Rashford, Salah, Kane and Haaland. Now, they are strikers, or in Salah's an inside forward. And Odegaard's game, he has brought goals into his game in the last year or so, but he's more of a majestic creator. So if them lot are in front of you, that tells you're adding something to your game, which he's got 16 at that moment in time. And that shows you really that you're in good stead, and shows you that Arteta further is improving footballers, people. Apparently Onana has received more yellow cards than he's kept clean sheets. Now, to be fair to Onana, that is, clean sheets are not just on the keeper, it's on everybody, really and truly. And I think Onana and Ramsdale, I don't think they could have done much better. And I think in other ways, they put in performances. I don't think it's games where you can look at the keeper and blame the keeper. I think Onana's shown he's really good playing out from the back. I think Man United need a bit more speed and invention and intention. And I think tactically we outdone them in that regards, but we'll get on to that. I did think Ramesh Højlund, banter aside, had a great impressive cameo. I think Gabriel dealt with him, but I think Højlund looks like he might turn out to be a decent bit of business for Man United. Hopefully not by the time we rock up at Old Trafford, really. I'm sure you've seen the drama with Jadon Sancho now as well. So yeah, that game was fully box office. I want it to be a boring movie, but that is early contender for Premier League game of the season, if I'm completely honest with you. You know, they scored in the 27th minute, we scored in the 28th, and then it was all a case of the second half and at the end. And the game was made better because, you know, Ten Hag's crying like a little baby, if I'm honest with you. It was absolutely amazing scenes, folks, man. Absolutely amazing. Talking about wrong angles and all these things. Like we haven't seen several bookie decisions early on this season go in favor of Man United, and historically, really and truly. Again, I'm sure both teams would want to defend better and things like that, but it is banter aside, as I said, it's nice to get the 3 points. You definitely have more time to dissect the performance when you've obviously won. But at the same time, win, lose or draw, when we remove emotion, as much as you can remove emotion from football, there's several things we clearly could have done better, really. And it should have been less dramatic. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta will be drumming that home. I think the players individually, you know, Havertz should have scored. And to be fair, I can't find the clip, but Saka should have scored a tap in as well. You know, more so Saka than Havertz. I must admit, really and truly, it's looking a bit mad. Havertz did quote unquote win a penalty for us before VAR overturned it, but he did give the ball away sloppily in the first half. To be fair, Declan Rice said we did that number of times. I did think Benjamin White, Saliba could have defended a lot better in that regards as well. And ultimately the whole team, maybe Ramsdale overcommitted, but fundamentally to a degree it starts and stops with Havertz. And it was disappointing because United were trying to play out from the back. We've actually pressed them quite well in occasion and we've won the ball. And then obviously Havertz has played that nonchalant pass. You know, we've seen it with several times, so it's not a scapegoating thing, but we could have done better. When Rashford receives the ball on his left foot, you could see what he wants to do. He wants to put it on his right. We know what Rashford's about, really. So I think Saliba and White could have done a lot better. You know, Rashford took about 7-8 touches to set himself, and it was a great goal from Marcus Rashford. Terrible from Arsenal because it was quite predictable, really and truly. We can't let him get the shot away. We shouldn't let him get the shot away, really and truly. So that was disappointing, really. You know, but again, you are going to concede in games like this. I don't think any Arsenal fan, if we were to get victory against Man United, expected a clean sheet. That being said, we need to stop going behind in games at the Emirates. We need to do a lot better, and we need to defend better on the transition. Thankfully, Gabriel read the situation and stepped up to allow Garnacho's elbow to be denied via offside. But that game could have ended 2-1, and even Declan Rice said he thought it was over. And I think Jesus lost the ball. I think Bruno Fernandes actually won it back, and then ultimately Casemiro, Højlund and Garnacho pulling the back of the net. Thankfully, it was a great bit of defending from VAR. It was a good bit of play from Gabriel, Zinchenko, Martinelli and Eddie Nketiah to get us back in the game. Martin Odegaard's made a career of those late runs, you know, and as you know, Man United did not pick him up. It's a fantastic goal from our captain. My captain stood up to be counted. Theirs was doing Magic Mike dirty dancing. It's nice to score from a corner as well. It's nice Declan Rice got a bit of fortune. Onana probably could have prevented that goal a bit better. Big up Reece Nelson for winning the ball back in what led to Fabio Vieira getting an assist and Jesus sitting the lot on his arse and ultimately bagging. It was lovely stuff, really. And it's great for Jesus to get a goal, and especially a goal in a big game. I think Arteta picked his team superbly, really. I must admit, it's another cameo from Fabio Vieira where you're wondering, after the international break, will he get a look in, really and truly? Fabio Vieira with another assist. Only two players at Arsenal have more assists in all comps since he joined. Saka has 13, Trossard has 10, Vieira has 8, tied with Martinelli, and 1 in front of Jesus, Xhaka and Odegaard, people. We have kept just 4 clean sheets from 22 Premier League games at the Emirates Stadium since the start of last season. Of the 17 teams to participate in the competition in each of the last 2 seasons, only Fulham have kept fewer clean sheets at home with 3. Again, for a team like Arsenal, we need to do a lot better. We cannot win a league title with that level of defending. In fact, we've only kept 2 clean sheets in 2 of our last 14 Premier League matches. Again, like I said, when you remove the emotion and all of that sort of stuff, we need to defend a bit crisper and cleaner collectively and individually. You know, several people made mistakes in the United goals that were allowed / disallowed. Several people have done it before and several people do it again. Arsenal have conceded from the very first shot they faced in the game in 7 different Premier League matches in 2023, more than any other side. So the domination needs to correlate to scoring goals off our own, because as you know, goals at any time can change games. You know, while Rashford's goal counted for nothing, on another day, that seals things. In fact, against Fulham, you really and truly, at the start of the game and the end of the game, we gave ourselves an unnecessary mountain. As I said, on the transition, we need to defend a lot better. That's been a theme of ours this season so far, a theme of ours during pre-season, and a theme of ours last season. Old habits really and truly do die hard. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on everything we're discussing, people. And again, tactically, I felt it was an interesting one. Now, again, as you can see in the graphic here, I did feel, you know, we kind of set up kind of quote unquote man marking them when the lot was becoming inverted. Saka was following in. Rashford towards the end of the first half kind of looked a bit frustrated and was occupying like the really wide position on the left, but he was a bit narrow. And again, we was kind of allowing, you know, Lindelof, Martinez, Onana, Casemiro to have the ball as much as they want in their own half. And you did see Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, Anthony, who I think Anthony off the ball had played quite well. You know, they were getting frustrated and dropping quite deep. On that topic, shout out to Zinchenko, because I think he had a very good game for Arsenal yesterday as well. As I said, I think collectively it was a great performance, but if I had to highlight individuals, I think Declan Rice, Odegaard, class above the others. I think Zinchenko, I think Eddie Nketiah, serious dirty work. Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira and the subs, big up them. I think Martinelli put himself about, even though he was quiet by his own standards. At the end of the day, statistically, in terms of assists and all the other metrics we've spoken about so far, Saka was still able to affect the game, which is a mark of a good player, really and truly. I think Gabriel, the centre-half, had a very good game. He was involved in the first goal. Obviously, him playing the offside trap allow Garnacho to be removed from that situation. And also, when you go and watch that game again, Gabriel, the centre-half, he actually runs to the linesman. He's looking at the linesman like, offside, offside. I think Gabriel had a really good game. I think Saliba and White could have done better for the goal, but I think Saliba was colossal and everything demanded. The only bad thing I saw from Saliba in this second half, he had one pass where I was thinking, what did you see there? He saw a lot of the ball really in the second half. In fact, our whole team, we was really just camped in Man United's box, and I think Declan Rice rid to the occasion in that regards. And as you can see with the graphic in front, you kind of saw their passing patterns. They were trying to frustrate us and play out from the back and show courage. And to be fair, from an Arsenal perspective, considering where we're at as a club in United, I have to give United credit. They were competitive, really. Both teams have this element of being their best friends and worst enemies. But as you can see, my attempt to show the passing lanes, typically, you know, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Onana, Martinez, Casemiro, the lot on occasion when he weren't inverted, they had the ball, but they're in their own half. They're not really going to affect us really and truly. And you could see kind of Rice was near Bruno on occasion. Martial was obviously occupied by our centre halves. Odegaard was near Eriksen, in my opinion. Saka became narrow with the lot. White obviously had to deal with Rashford, as is on the other side with Zinchenko and Anthony. And we kind of allowed them. And you could see several occasions naturally in football. If you can't play short, you're going to go long. And there were several times Man United will go long and they were really giving the ball away very cheaply. So as I said, I do think there's some good building blocks with how Man United played in that regards, but Ten Hag's going to have to stop crying for one and start to get that to another level. On another day, the subs really, because the subs for them in Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire, and you know, it could have went differently for Garnacho, but they impacted the game for us. Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, definitely. I have to give credit to Tomiyasu as well. Sorry for that mistake. I don't know why I put Martinelli in the Man United team. To be fair, he did have a trial at Old Trafford and it came to nothing really, fortunately for us. Shows how football's a funny old game, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, man, we frustrated them. We won the individual battles collectively and individually. Watching the game again, we did dominate. United were really just living on the counter attack, but they did remain fairly competitive. So I have to give them credit for that in that regards, people. I think they did very well in that regards, really. Considering that my United brethrens that were not doing the nonsense, the trolling that United fans do. They were quite scared. They thought they were going to get battered. So I'm sure they could take solace in losing 3-1. Obviously, heading into the international break, Manchester City remained the only team with maximum points. We sit fifth. Not that I look at the league table. As I said, it's lovely to react after a disappointing performance against Fulham. Like Declan Rice said in his post-game comments, we had to win. We had to win. You can't afford, if you're fighting for a league, you can't afford City too much ground. So it's nice to go into the international break in high spirits. It's nice to react after last week. It's nice to get bragging rights in a London derby. I'm bantering. That's for the United supporters who live in London. It's nice to win against a top 6 side. It's nice to just get 3 points. It's nice to actually win at the Emirates. But again, you can't have it all. We need to defend crisper and cleaner. United, it was a good passage of play which led to the one goal that stood. But for me, as a selfish Arsenal fan, I think we're giving people goals too cheaply. Like, we've seen this before. We saw it against Nottingham Forest. We obviously saw it several times last season. We saw it against Man United in pre-season, and every decent team we played in pre-season, matter of fact. Crystal Palace at home is the only game I'm kind of happy with how we played defensively this season, and that was with 10 men. With 17 strikes, Odegaard has scored more league goals than any other Arsenal player since the start of last season. People asked him to turn up in terms of scoring goals. People asked him to turn up in away games. People asked him to turn up in big games. And Martin Odegaard statistically is one of the best players in terms of scoring for Arsenal at home and away. And he's turning up in big games. As I said, the captain led by example. I'm not a Man United fan, so I don't really care. And I think Bruno Fernandes is a terrific player, but he should not be captain for Man United. The guy's just on the floor more than Magic Mike, more than some stripper working in King of Diamonds and things like that. The man's an absolute joke of a footballer in terms of his ability, but in terms of how he conducts himself, an absolute twat, really and truly, really, if I'm completely honest. If I'm honest, shout out to him for actually winning the ball in what led to Garnacho's goal disallowed. But it's an absolute mockery. A club of the history of Man United have that. Now, again, as I said, there's several areas of improvement. Now, again, this is another game we're talking about. Kai Havertz, he did win a penalty, which was disallowed. He did lose the ball. And early in the game, he should have scored, really. Again, it's looking, Arteta's going to keep persisting with him. He's got the manager's faith and stuff. But it is looking like maybe somebody else should get an opportunity. If Partey was fit, maybe there's an avenue to deploy Declan Rice, Partey and Odegaard. You would say if there's anyone on the bench pushing at the moment, it probably is Fabio Vieira. You've got Smith Rowe rating in the wings. I do like Kai Havertz. I don't think he was terrible, but I think he had several terrible moments, and it's another game that passed him by. He defo should have scored. I think he's a bit nonchalant in front of goal. I think he was nonchalant for the ball he gave away. I did think he done his defensive due diligence. There were several times he was dropping deep and receiving it from the centre halves, but it's another game where you would just like to see with your eyes across 90 minutes of him performing. I did think he offers us a lot physically, and that's why Arteta was reluctant to sub him. Of his 77 minutes, people, he had 34 touches, and you can see all the stats in front of me. I do think he puts himself about physically, but I do think once you have to start watching games again, looking at statistics with players, you're getting in dangerous territory. I'm still going to retain faith in Havertz. I'm not going to turn on you yet. I don't advocate scapegoating of any footballer, but it don't look good, really and truly, Mikel. So let's hope that in the next few games he can put our worries to bed. And I think Mr. Waleed has put it perfectly regarding Havertz. When you pay 65 million for a player, you don't want to have to micro-analyze his performance to find the positives. But at the same time, I thought we had to keep him on as long as we could because of what he offers physically and with his passing. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's a very good way. So shout out to Waleed and give him a follow, because he clearly talks sense of compartmentalizing what Kai Havertz does, really. And at some point, Arteta's going to have to, try somebody else. So as I said, how long before Fabio Vieira gets an opportunity? How long before Odegaard plays in that role and Smith Rowe or Fabio playing the 10? What about swapping Odegaard and Havertz around? What about, an El Nene or Jorginho or Partey? If fit, we know Partey's got injury issues. He's going to retain faith in Havertz. And at the end of the day, he's played Havertz in 5 games now, 4 games, apologies. We've taken, previously we took 7 points from a potential 9. We've only dropped 2 points this season. He started him against Man United. He started him 4 games into the season. He started him in a cup final. And I just think Havertz just needs to, just put his mark on the game a bit more. He definitely needs to use this international period, definitely when he goes off with Germany, to improve his finishing, really. So I do think there's a lot of quote unquote negatives that we need to look at to improve in this game when we remove emotion. And there's a lot of positives. There was a lot of fight and determination. And as you can see on the screen, Arteta using the analogy of his wife. So if he is using Havertz as his wife, he's going to persist. As we know, this is a different big money signing that Havertz been polarizing opinion, and Arteta spent the bag. This ain't like when we had Pepe, really. And I think Fabio Vieira, it's another cameo. That's what, 3 very good cameos against Fulham, against Manchester United, against Manchester City, doing very well. And it's lovely to see him get an assist and get the numbers, really. So it's lovely to see that the impactors came off the bench and made made way and made good waves. It's nice to see collectively we mucked in, we came from behind and won. It's nice to see some individuals shine. And as I said, for me, Rice, Zinchenko, Gabriel, Eddie Nketiah, and several others, Declan Rice. You know what? I throughout the course of the video, I'm missing people out. I'm doing them a disjustice. Tomiyasu as well. Let me know your thoughts. Comment, like, subscribe. So yeah, people, with everything being discussed throughout this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share your own thoughts, people. But with everything we've discussed and everything we've seen and everything, all the talking points we've provided against Manchester United in that 4-goal thriller, if I start with the positives, we've come from behind. I have to praise this mentality of Arsenal. Like we never say never. We fight to the death. I'm proud of them for that. I'm proud of collectively. Whatever the manager demanded of you, I think watching the game twice, we did that. I'm proud of actually the moves we was putting when we were scoring. I like the reaction to conceding. I like the intention. You know, we didn't come to mess around. I did think for large periods of that first half, it was a bit of a ball fest. Nothing was really going on. As you know, in them kind of games, there definitely Arsenal versus United. It just takes one moment and then it's firecrackers, really. You know, in the first half, I'm not going to lie, I think the only thing we did truly well was scoring literally 60 seconds after conceding. You know, so I think the mentality was there. I think we fought to the death. I think whatever the manager told you to implement, you did it. I did like there was a bit of a change to the way we was pressing. We weren't just pressing relentlessly. We was allowing certain players from Man United to have the ball in certain areas and then trying to go 1v1 and whatnot, people. It's nice to know that, you know, Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, when they're not having the best of games, affects the game. I think, you know, Zinchenko, Eddie Nketiah, these kind of performances will go. Gabriel, the centre-half, they'll be lost in the sea of other talking points. I think they all rose to the occasion, really and truly. I big up Ramsdale for a big save in the first half as well. In terms of improvement, clearly it's another game with, you know, with the tax of it being a top 6 game. It's another game without a clean sheet. Another game we've conceded when the team's not really banged on our door. Another game we've had to come from behind. Another game where I'm question marking the transitions. I don't want to make this about Kai Havertz, but it's this kind of, you know, off the ball, physically tackling, actually receiving off the centre halves, the movement, the pressing, all of that was there from Havertz. But, you know, people are only going to remember crucial moments. They're only going to remember the penalty that he won, which again, big up Nketiah and Rice for helping to build that together, which, you know, you see Man United giving them, whether I believe it should be a penalty in the present game or not, which I don't, but in the present day they're given, we should have got that. Fair enough. So Alex Ferguson's check didn't bounce on that occasion. Really and truly. But I think people are only going to remember the penalty, him losing the ball. Again, he does lose the ball, but this is football. You're going to lose the ball in the transitions. Havertz has lost the ball. He's not alone. The whole team has been caught in a transition. We're on the back foot. I do think White, Saliba could have done a lot better in that regards to not allow Rashford onto his bigger foot, onto his stronger foot. But at the same time, people are only going to remember the penalty. Saka did miss a chance, but they're only going to remember Havertz for the chance early on he should have scored, you know, the penalty he won and the ball he lost. And it's another game where, yes, you know, physically, statistics, all that stuff is there from Havertz, but you want to see him grab the game by the balls, really. You know, again, the manager system's working. We've only dropped 2 points, but it's another game to follow Fulham where you want a bit more. If he is lacking confidence, I understand playing a man into confidence, but is it getting to the stage where you need to try someone else out? Now, Fabio Vieira, when he gets his chance, he needs to show he can start games and do well, really, because that hasn't always been the case with some of our impactors. Another positive I would say is all the players that came off the bench. Big up Jorginho, but not really him because there wasn't too many minutes. I think Reece Nelson, he won the ball for the 3rd goal. Jesus, obviously. I think Tomiyasu did well, and Fabio Vieira got an assist. I think the impactors, the subs came on at the right times. I'm sure we're all there, like Saka's knackered, Havertz could come off, blah, blah, blah. Arteta got it spot on with that in that regards, really. In terms of the negatives, as I said, we need to defend better. We need to, you know, defend better on the transition. I still don't think we're creating many clear-cut chances this season in the Premier League, despite the fact that we scored 3 goals in our last game. And I think we could create. I think we could take our chances because Saka should have a goal to go with his assist. Havertz should have scored his first goal like Declan Rice. Big up Declan Rice because that was a monstrous performance, especially in the second half. He's dribbling, he's ball carrying, he's taking matters into his own hands. And like I said with Eddie Nketiah, he's involved in the penalty that came to nothing ultimately, really and truly. So yeah, big up the subs, big up the fact that we came from behind. We found 3 goals. We've reacted to obviously dropping points against Fulham. We've got 3 points on the board against the top 6 team. You know, how you perform against the top 6 is going to display things. It was a game of fine margins that went for us. Whether Man United should be in a scenario where they're bringing on Harry Maguire, you saw the Arsenal fans cheering, that's why. And Johnny Evans, I don't know. Garnacho looked like a stroke of genius if it wasn't for VAR. Yeah, I think Big Gabriel, our centre half, I think he's not going to, another one that I don't think is going to get his plaudits based on that United game, but he was quality. It is, I must admit, right is right and wrong's wrong, but as a 28-year-old who grew up with Sir Alex Ferguson and saw our unbeaten run ended in some dodgy scenarios, it is a bit of poetic justice seeing fans cry and the manager cry. You know, I don't think Ten Hag's necessarily wrong, but you need to look at what you was doing, because you lot really and truly were living on the counter attack. I do like the fact that they're trying to play out from the back, and Onana's quite good in that regards, but they had no plans for that really. You saw Martinez, Onana, their defenders / Casemiro on the ball a lot, but they had no options. They had to go long. Anthony, Bruno, Ericsson, they were all forced to drop extremely deep. Martial had no luck in that game. Rashford scored, but we'll take that. But really and truly, Rashford didn't really do much. You're paid to score. He's done that, really. So I think before you start looking at the linesmen and the refs, there's nothing that we can do with that. And trust me, as an Arsenal fan, we've been dealt more injustices than I can count. You know, I think he needs to look at his own game plan, his own implementation of things, really and truly, if I'm honest. It is nice to see that ultimately we scored from a corner, because we had like 12, 13 corners, and it showed that it paid off in the end, really. It was almost a bit abnormal, really. You know, Ten Hag, Rashford was given a penalty for what Havertz's one was overturned for. You know, definitely in the last couple of games, I'm sure if you talk to Wolves fans and many fans, they'll have something to say in those games. And I'm pretty sure Ten Hag, you know, Mr. We don't play friendlies, as soon as he said that their preseason kind of fell apart and they've been a bit booky this season, I'm pretty sure Ten Hag has nothing to say on Martinelli's disallowed goal at Old Trafford last year. Again, we all know refereeing in this country is terrible. There'll be many times where Arsenal will be dealt an injustice, really, but we got on with it, really. A bit like Crystal Palace with that second yellow for Tomiyasu, whether it should have happened or not. You could argue Lindelof should have been sent off for Eddie Nketiah early on. You should argue, you know, Lisandro Martinez had about 2 yellow card offences. What a player like Martinez is, really, as well on that. So there's a lot of things we can improve. Happy to see Jesus score. There's a lot of things we did well, but when we remove the emotion, there's a lot of things we need to do better, because a bit like what I said last season, had this game have stayed at 2-1 and Garnacho's goal, for argument's sake, stood, I don't think we could have any complaints. The game could have went either way. Clearly, the second half, well, the whole game we were the more dominant side on the ball, but I think the second half was more us. The only time I was really scared is when they had the ball. Some of you were part of my watch along, as you could hear me saying my watch along. When we have the ball, I'm very confident when we had the ball in our possession. It's just off the ball, you could see certain runs, certain lapses in concentration. And as Declan Rice said in his post-game comments, you know, we were a bit sloppy in the first half. So there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. It's a mixed bag. We just need to keep going, really and truly. 4 games in, Arteta can breathe for a bit. Players are going off to the international break. It's time for Arteta to look at the last 4 games. What have we did good? How do we make it great? What's the areas of concern? How do we make it better? Again, Man United, you know, when you play top 6 games, I'm not really on to Arsenal about keeping clean sheets, but we are conceding cheap goals. We do need to start getting some more clean sheets. We do need to start defending better, really, and we need to stop making games emotional. This game will look good when we watch it again. It definitely feels good when you win. You know, it's firmly up there with the Man United last season, Aston Villa away last season, and probably Bournemouth at home last season. But we need to stop being this entertaining team for the neutrals. Let's get back to boring Arsenal, because I felt we could have done a bit more. We could have created chances. Certain players could have scored clear-cut chances, you know, and we definitely could have done better defensively. But you always want the 3 points first and then talk about the performance later. If I had to give a man of the match, I think Declan Rice is the only one. I do think there's other players who played well. Let me know your thoughts on the match. Who would you give man of the match to? Let me know your thoughts on the referee. Let me know your thoughts on Ten Hag's comments, Arteta's comments, Havertz. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot to say. Fabio Vieira, do you not believe he's pushing for a start now? Just let me know your thoughts. Comment, like, subscribe when the video's premiering and also after. God bless you all. Hope you all have a great weekend and a great week. And I don't know who we've got next in the Premier League, but we just need to get on with it. The only dampener I could also say is that Partey is now injured as well, but we're going to have to get on with it. Like, comment, subscribe, stay in good health. Come on, you Gunners. One love.
There's always just that active red flag defenders. I think it's like
easy, easy, easy.